By now, all over the studio, hammers and saws were quickly being replaced by paint and brushes, for the deadline was drawing near. The hurry up, paint up, finish up campaign began in earnest. Ever wonder how you paint a straight line on a round wheel? Well, here's how it's done. Like our many other projects, the Santa Fe and Disneyland Railroad was feeling the effects of the final push. It needed only a few letters of recommendation from a dozen sign painters and the installation of its trucks and a few other accessories to be ready for its trial run. At this point, we felt much like our friend the Beaver in the picture Lady and the Tramp. It's not so much the work as the doggone hauling. For now began the job of moving Disneyland to Disneyland. For the next few weeks, as far as we were concerned, all roads led to Disneyland. At Barham Boulevard, our trucks completed the first leg of the trip and turned onto the Hollywood Freeway. From here, straight on to Disneyland, it was a breeze. It's often said that the Los Angeles drivers are a hardy breed. They're used to almost everything. But when a man's missed his coffee and is late for work, a boxcar rolling down the freeway can be quite a surprise. To the thousands of Los Angeles motorists who travel the freeways daily, this view of the Los Angeles City Hall is a familiar landmark. Once past downtown Los Angeles, we swing onto the Santa Ana Freeway, toward the city of Anaheim. This is probably the only time that Disneyland in Santa Fe will roll beneath the tracks of its big brother, the Super Chief. As we turn off the freeway onto Harbor Boulevard, we finally reach our destination, Disneyland.
All right. We can have the control of the sound. But we've always wondered, like, how did we get these great aerial shots? So you're getting a chance here to see everybody boarding a good old Goodyear blimp. And we're real quickly now going to go from the pre-opening footage that you've been seeing before we started the show. A little bit in what Winston showed you there. We're going to go quickly now.
Who wants to do this?
Yeah. I think this would still be a very good ride at Disney.
Yeah.
We need a film that comes up that has balloons in it where people fly away. I wonder what that might be. This is opening day, and look at the crowd. You know, you hear that there were a lot of counterfeit tickets, but the golden tickets actually had, you could write in how many people you wanted to bring in. And I have one, and on mine it says Bill Treadwell and 69 close friends. So that's where the real problem happened. So we had seen all this footage with Walt in black and white with the opening day ceremony, but it's kind of fun just to kind of revisit these scenes here. Now that was a dress rehearsal. You can see the Marine there, it was 100 degrees.
Yeah, too hot.
Yeah, he's in a red uniform. Now this is fun because we've all seen Walt pulling into the station, but here's where he was, I think, taking the ride for the first time from the roundhouse and back. The original roundhouse is still there. It's now the paint shop. But this is the, the spur that took it right out of the main line, right behind the dry riverbed there. Here we are, first day, first ticket. At least he thinks the first ticket is his. I think the first ticket is upstairs in the archive exhibit.
Yeah, rolling one.
Yeah. So here's the first kids, which we've seen, and they've been back for. Now this is actually on the same time, the same day that we were in the park. So that they finished the front side, but the back side was. Don't fall in. Yeah, I like the handrails around the path here. And as you look at the streets and everything, they didn't know that they were going to need to sweep the streets and everything. They found that out after opening. So you'll see a little bit of trash and stuff that, was sort of oops, had to take care of that. So, this is a rehearsal for the opening of Frontierland, because once they went live in the later part of the afternoon, I think it started at 4 o'clock, people were let in at 2. So in the morning and up till 2 o'clock, they were doing rehearsals to get all the pacing right. So now we're switching a little bit to some of the early rides. And when you hear that Disneyland was done for $17 million, you understand why. It was all animal power for the most part. And truly, when they say that Bill Evans, the landscape guru, planted weeds, it was not too far off from the truth in some of these shots. You can see that it was pretty raw. In the pre-show, you may have seen Storybook Land, and I think now as you look down at the mule ride down there, it looks a little bit like a current construction job out there.
Colors are amazing.
Yeah. Now these were all locked away, and Ed and his crew over there found them when they were about to be assigned to the vaults. And they called a few of us, and we looked at it, and we could not believe what was actually found there. Now we're coming down into the Indian village, and not only did we have 17 tribes here performing, but Walt was always quick to work a bargain, so he said, we'll let you perform there, but you've got to build your own facility. And he made a show out of it. It must have been fun to watch the construction of these homes. I remember there's actually one little building out in British country that remains from this era, and that's the Briar Patch shop. And we worked very hard to save that, because I always like to have something that's around from the early days. So that one is there. Now we're up to almost 1958, the delivery of the Columbia Hall from, I think, Long Beach, where it was constructed. And while that's metal, of course, the exterior is 100% wood and teak and everything. So once that arrived in Fowler's Harbor, which is pretty much, you'll see shots in here, when you look at the buildings in the back behind the ship there, you'll see it's pretty much exactly the same today. But the next task was to literally disguise that metal hull with wood and create the wood mass and everything. There's a master shipbuilder that you're going to see throughout this by the name of Ray Wallace. And Ray's family is still in the business down in Long Beach area. And they maintain all the everything in Disneyland, not just this ship, but the tree house, anything where we used netting and so forth. This guy loved it. I mean, he was an executive. He was well off. They had their own private architectural firm. But if you could put him up in rigging and have him tying knots, that was what he loved to do. Kurt Kimberline and I got to work with him way later on when we were going back in on the Columbia with work. And his company continually comes out to refresh the boat when it goes down. For its rehabs, Jim is his son, and they're a family dynasty doing this. And look at there's no tie-off harness there. The higher you can get, the more exciting it was. Now we're on opening day. Unfortunately, Ed was the guy that found out all the statistics on this. So if somebody is a true Disney fan here, and you know who the admiral's wife there was. Of course, that's Joe Fowler, but I think they brought in the Navy admiral and his wife to christen the boat. Now we're on the other side of the park. This is the start of the submarine lagoon. And what those guys are building is huge walls that form the 15-foot cavern edges that you travel through in the submarine ride. Now, nothing had ever been done like this. And for me, I was 12 years old when this all happened, and it was like, you know, this was where I changed my plan of what I was going to do for a living. The submarine ride and the Matterhorn were just absolutely, took Disneyland up a notch from those Conestoga wagons and horses and things that the park opened with. Because of the structure of this site, you've got monorails. These are the sub-casings for the monorail beams that would go through the lagoon, down below the lagoon. And if you understand the topography of Anaheim, it's all on an aquifer. It's kind of a sandy soil area, so to get both. Now this is my favorite. To keep that submarine open, or to keep the Skyway open, look what they did. They put it up on 2x4s. So the original dirt was up there in the air, and they were riding on it. I can't believe that. We never saw that. We are a very safe organization. Okay, these guys are building the sets in the submarine lagoon. So those are the graveyard of the lost ships. You can see the rib cages there of those, the ships for the underwater thing. The way we do this is the sculpting is done in what they call rebar. The metal there, it's covered with a metal lap. It's like a real coarse window screen, and then that's covered. I love this painting. I'm not sure if it's Herbie, but it sure looks like a Herbie Ryman. You know, as a kid, you stand there at this, and it allows you to look over the fence and look at the construction and you ride the train ride around the park. That's the lagoon. You can see the Matterhorn. Yeah. Awesome. The yacht bar, that's where Tomorrowland Terrace is. And that moved around a couple of times, actually. Monorail beam. We actually found a missing monorail beam when they expanded the loop to the hotel. They took one beam out. And we found out when we put in the Autopia. It's interesting how they built this, because it was completely finished down to the halfway point. I think that was so they could play basketball up there while they were working on the rest of it. And again, you could ride the rides right through the construction site. So I loved the Autopia that year. Now there's the graveyard of ships model that Claude Coates did. Claude was my mentor. He was one of the great guys in engineering. Just a wonderful, wonderful man who loved to work with all us young kids. That's the track structure. The cement portion is over here, the arches, and they're about to put the metal railing on top of that for the submarine. Those wooden frames, skeleton pieces, are how they did the rockwork on the Matterhorn. Instead of the steel, they used wooden forms. I think we're about to get a ride. And I had this in my last one, but it was just so cool. Nobody would believe this, you know. I kept thinking, what if that thing stopped out there on the track? There's absolutely no way to get that out of the
you get it.
Yeah, no, you do it. Here is truly the first ride on the matter. I think this fellow is an executive from Arrow. If Bob Kerr was here, you know, but look at that. Look at the track. It's just two rails. 80 feet up in the air. You know. And you have ridden on that track a million times since then. It's still the same place. Now you can see how much taller those